I'll call the meeting to order, and we'll do a prayer and a pledge of allegiance. And my good friend on that.
Okay.
He will lead us into prayer, and then we'll do.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we humbly come before you and thank you for your eternal love for us, Lord. And we seek your guidance and wisdom and discernment as we gather today here to work in unity toward a better community, a better county and state and nation through our personal commitment to the Lehigh Community Council and to the Lee County School District, Lord. We recognize and we honor all faiths here today. And as a Christ follower, I pray these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
The flag is on that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. Most people would have picked up an agenda on that end, but for time, we have the school district here, members of the school district here, and we will let them go ahead and do their presentation. And if people are coming in and they join in, don't worry, they won't be having more questions than some of the other people who were here already. So without that, I want to welcome you guys here and say thank you for showing up. I wish there were much more people here. I left the meeting just about half hour ago. It's still ongoing. It's in reference to 2024 Lee whatever housing and assessment needs. So I know there are some people there. The forum had some people also. A meeting that was going on there. So, normally only staff makes up all of it. Without anything else, welcome. Thank you all, and you can sell it.
Thank you so very much for having us this evening. My name is Jen Robinson. I am with our school district, as you mentioned, in communications and serve as our community engagement coordinator. And to my left is
Adam Malloy, Director of Planning. Having been here, thank you for the opportunity.
Our persons, District 5, which is this district, school boards.
Wonderful. So we're going to talk to you about a few things. One of the items that I'm going to speak about, you're probably very familiar with regard to proximity plan. And the other item that we're going to discuss tonight is the 2024 capital plan, which Adam will speak to. And awesome work. So again, just to kind of touch on what we're going to speak on, the middle school proximity, enrollment and capacity needs, the 2024 capital plan, and then take any questions that you might have. And if we don't have the answers to them, make sure that we get them, bring them back to you. With that being said, as you are well aware of, proximity initially passed with our elementary school students last year, and then again earlier this year for our middle school students. And so that goes into effect for those individuals beginning of next year. And the purpose was for a few reasons. As you can kind of see, it's to initially address those transportation inequities. So when you think about the demographic area, I know Dr. B said at one of the town halls we were at a couple years ago, a bus driver can cover a demographic area of about 15,000 miles in our day, and that's the size of the state of Rhode Island. And in speaking with Adam, when we look at some of our subzones for elementary as example, there is one subzone where they have 17 schools to choose from, and you think about all of the transportation and getting our kids to and from those schools at each and every day. And when you think about that, the schools that are having those late bus stops and those late bus times, how that impacts our students and their instructional time. And if you think about it on a day-to-day basis, maybe 15 minutes here and there isn't so bad, but if you think about it across the entire school year, those 15 minutes on a day-to-day add up. And that pulls away from the instruction that our students are so deserving and need to have. So again, that was kind of one of those motivations as well. Setting up our students for success, like I just mentioned, ensuring that they're there to receive that instruction and getting home in a timely manner as well. And then again, pulling our community together, improving that connection between our community and to our schools. When they're in close proximity, it enables our families to engage more with our schools, to be present at our schools, and to be a part of our schools and our community events that are transpiring. So those are some of the motivations that were happening with regard to proximity. When you look at the middle school proximity plan, again, as I mentioned, that goes into effect this coming school year. And for the students that it's going to immediately affect is going to be those incoming 6th grade students, those middle school students that are new to our district and those individuals that are no longer residing in their school zone, they have a choice that they had to make. Either they elect to stay and waive transportation, wherein the parent would provide transportation, or they would choose to go into the new zone that their student is met with that proximity plan. Our district website is leeschool.net, and on that website, it's pretty comprehensive for any number of variables, whether it's enrollment that you're looking for, parent resources, the parent portal to access focus. If you are looking for opportunities in our district for employment, you can find opportunities there. If you want to see what board meetings are coming up and what agenda items are going to be discussed, you can find that there. But as it relates to proximity, we've got our student enrollment tab that's on there. And if an individual is not sure what zone they reside in and where their school is going to be, that map is pretty interactive, wherein you can pull it and pinch it and zoom it out. Alternatively, you can enter in the residential address to then be able to identify where that student will go to based on their zone. Additionally, individuals that are new to our district, there's any number of items that you might need to have to register. It's pretty comprehensive in outlining those prerequisites in order to enroll into the school district. And then those families that are new or needing to enroll and want to come to student enrollment, we've also got QList, which is one of our online portals, and it's helping our families to bypass waiting in those long lines when they're going to student enrollment. So they can create an appointment time and then come into the student enrollment office during their designated time. Alternatively, if they're already at the student enrollment office, they can join the line in QList and wait for the comfort of their vehicle. So again, that is our proximity plan overview and update, much like we mentioned earlier. Elementary school went into effect last year. Prince Middle School is going into effect this year, and that proximity plan for them will take place in the fall of this year. That's pretty much all of proximity in a nutshell.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and it's, for specifically for your area, you can see that the number of choices for middle school went down from right around five to six to 3 to 4. And same thing with elementary. And with elementary going into effect this year for our kindergarten cohort, but transportation for all for elementary, it did reduce our need for bus drivers. Our routes were shorter. We were transporting to fewer choices, and our square mileage was much smaller. So we are seeing some good results as it relates to some of the metrics for on-time delivery of students. Looking to see that continue with middle school for next year. So kind of transitioning. Proximity lives in our world as a system to try to improve getting our kids to and from school on time, but kind of transitioning to what the number of students that we have. So this was taken from some of our capital plan presentations. You can see the student population, going all the way back to 2003, being right around 58,000 students, and then our projected enrollment for 2033, using our 10-year projections from Davis Demographics, we're right at 114,000. Now, you guys probably see that because this couples and connects and coincides with a lot of the growth that you see naturally. And the necessary infrastructure that comes along with this K-12 growth is the need for schools. But you guys probably see the infrastructure as it relates to traffic or as it relates to necessary services, be it grocery stores or whatnot. But this is a big deal for us in seeing this continued growth in the district. Is something that we have to keep an eye on and constantly monitor, because you don't want to go overboard and build too many schools that won't be utilized, right? But you also want to keep pace with the student growth. So I'll give you just an example with these numbers. Our student population grew on average with a compounded annual growth rate of about 3% per year, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're dealing with 90,000 students, that's a decent number of kids in seats. We also added about 3.19% in terms of growth rate for our seats during that same amount of time. So we're just keeping up with that growth the past 5 years, where our student growth was around 3%. Our student seat growth through new construction and new student seats was about 3.19%. So it's keeping up. We hope not to get to a tipping point. We know what that means in terms of capacity stress, whether it's portables or adding, permanent buildings or the like. But you can see that in the span of about 30 years, our student population has hit a doubling rate. right? Which is remarkable. It's dynamic growth. And it's something that everybody at the school district in operations, through academics, is feeling and trying to manage. Now, I guess you could do a hypothetical what if growth slows, right? And that's something that we do track. Whether it's every cycle or every day, we in my department, we take a look at those numbers and what that building utilization looks like. And then in our fish database with the state. So we are growing. And, in terms of our capital plan, the capital plan is designed to address that student growth, right? If we continue to see that number of students or to grow by that number of students, how many more seats do we need? And we tie that in with new school construction projects. I did want to mention some of the regional growth. I thought it would be important for this group to kind of see it broken down by some of our traditional zones, be it east, south, west, in the total. And you can see the growth there by 2033 at 114,000. You can see that percentage change for the east zone, and that's with our current students, and then projecting that out to 2033, a 48% growth in the east and a 42% growth in the west. So the east is primarily Lehigh Acres, but not all Lehigh Acres, and the west is primarily Cape Coral, but not all Cape Coral. That would also include like North Fort Myers as well. This was a part of the original, but I also thought it was important for the group to see, and it's something that you guys probably are well aware of, and probably why you're so active in your in this little regional group, because you're trying to manage and trying to see and trying to address this growth and what can be done, the potential and opportunities with that. So in terms of our capital plan and how it developed, and it really was developed over the course of a long period of time with a team that was board approved on January 9th, is that we went from a capital plan that proposed 17 new school district facilities to around 12. And that was primarily some of the financial constraints we were facing. And you'll see that list here in just a second, but that will create about 17,000 new student seats to try to address that growth in 10 years. That still puts us at a deficit if those projections hold true. The projections towards the latter part of the 10 years tend to be a little bit less accurate, but we'll continue to update that data as we get more and more cycle data from each school year. So we are proposing 12 new school district facilities and expansions, which will create 17,000 new seats over the next 10 years. You kind of see here how it compares with the plan that we presented in August. August was kind of like a big shot. Let's put everything on the table. Let's get us ahead by about 5,000 seats. Let's do everything. This is our wish list. If financing, if half-penny wasn't an issue, let's see how many schools we could build to try to not just keep up with growth, but also put us in the positive with growth. And that August plan put us about 5,000 seats ahead. Now, the one that we proposed in December actually put us at a deficit of about 4,000 seats if the projections hold true. Now that dotted line is right around 2028, I believe, and that's when the half-penny sales tax, which was designed for new construction, safety and security and technology, it's up. So we couldn't really predict that into the 10-year plan, and that's why you'll see a lot of the school projects are heavy within that those first years up until 2028. Sorry, this is a little bit smaller, but these are the new school projects that we are proposing. Their regional location, be it east, west, south, the number of seats generated, the proposed year that was board approved on January 9th. You'll probably see some changes as we go to the board on a regular, consistent basis to some of those years. Some of you might be familiar with the court's decision taking local permitting away from states like Florida and giving it back to the federal or Army Corps, and that potentially could pose some delays because a lot of our sites that we do have both wetlands and endangered species that we have to mitigate, and that potentially could be a little bit longer of a delay. We're hopeful not, and we're certainly working with our legislators to see how we can affect some of these, or how can we affect some of these sites a little bit easier through that permitting process. You'll notice that it's kind of like an alphabet soup of like schools. They don't have names yet. They will go through like an official naming process. There will be like community outreach and community events. We were just talking about middle school 00, which is off State Road 82, a very large site that we have off State Road 82, and that's middle school 00 and elementary school L. And it's actually a 3-school campus on that site, and you'll start to hear some of the community events that we'll do out there. Just kind of give them a heads up on the timeline, the project, what you can expect to see, when you can become a little bit more involved as it relates to some of the maybe curricular approaches or mascot approaches and that sort of thing. Just getting the community connected with what those schools will be and look like and when they will eventually open. Yes,
Quick question, because I know I'll forget.
you will not forget that.
Because he's going on for a while. I will not forget. You know me, I will not forget. But, high school 000 West, where is that?
It's off Kismet and Chiquita. It's actually a very tight site in Cape Coral.
Okay, it's in Cape.
Yeah, it's about 38 plus minus acres. So we're having to get a little bit creative with some of the school district sites that we currently own. That one will probably go up one level. So our prototype design has the 3 floors. This one might go up to 4 floors. But in order to get all of like the programmatic space for athletics and everything on that site, we might have to go a little bit taller. So that one's not going to be like our gateway, which was our high school prototype design. This one will be a little bit different. And the proposals that we had on that did get pretty creative. We just have to see what we can do within our, within kind of our framework.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
The one on 82 about.
I'm not great on
Is
82.
it Sunshine?
That's the Kingston property.
It's near where the legal road is. They just bought
Yeah.
property.
Sunshine and 82.
Sunshine.
Yeah, it's between, right between Sunshine and Outlet. On the right hand. Thank
That's what.
you. Sure.
My apologies. I have been out to the site, but
Kitty corner from the 7-Eleven.
correct. So
Ask the question, or you-
yes, yeah, no, we can, however,
Don't matter.
okay.
Leave it up to you.
So back to proximity, one of the things that we have trouble with in this area is the high amount of, in case anyone doesn't know, academic levels are 1 to 4. It's based on reading and all of that. We have some schools that have 90-some% level 1 and 2. And some of them are doing really well because they work really hard. But when you put the same type of students, and a lot of times those level 1 and 2 students are the ones that fight because they're not learning, so they gotta do something. Okay, so how is proximity going to help that? Because like the 3 schools that you had up there before, Varsity Hearts Marsh and Lehigh Midwest, all of them right now have a problem with fighting because there's 90% of the kids that are all the same. And when we all know that when kids aren't up to par academically, they will act out. So how is proximity going to affect that high number of lower achieving students?
Yeah, Ms. Gittens, and I mean, my background in research is really about student demographics and how it's changed over the past 20 years. So I do think that your question is kind of multi-layered, but extremely important. So anytime you're looking at a student assignment plan, you want to see how it's setting up your schools for success, right? And what you're talking about is how it distributes the students, right? And how that student population then makes up the success. And it might not just be what she's talking about, which is achievement level, but it could be ELL status or ESE percentage or race, ethnicity, or socioeconomic. You really don't want to completely isolate a school because then you're lacking in certain areas that you would want to see in a student body. We're currently measuring the impact of proximity with the kindergarten cohort. So that's our first real, because we had this continuation policy where students could stay outside of their zone as long as they provided their own transportation. So that's the only real clean grade that we have in terms of what we can measure in terms of impact. And the three areas that we're trying to measure is one, kindergarten readiness, right? That's kind of what you're talking about is achievement level. So we're looking at a STAR, like early literacy assessment, that first test that they take, and compare it to the scores from that school from the previous year. So did it impact the dispersion of kindergarten readiness? Second is attendance. If we're making it closer to home, right, attendance should be better. So we're looking at attendance and tardiness, and then the third one, and we're looking at racial and socioeconomic. Just given the history of the county, we want to make sure that we're not negatively impacting the distribution of students that way. So I think that your question is very important in terms of us staying accountable with the plan. And I don't think in previous years we were always very accountable with the student assignment plan. We always said, well, you just have all these choices, right? You have 17 choices in E2, which is East Subzone 2, and we'll bus you to all 17. But we never actually looked about how it was distributing those students. And I would argue, looking at the data, that our choice system, which was wide and neutral and uncontrolled, actually was very uneven in how it was distributing students, right? With this, as we get tighter and we can have a little bit better look and control, and each year we measure these metrics and say, well, we're getting it in elementary zone A, but we're not getting it in C. What do we need to do? Do we need to move out of boundary, right? Do we need to add a new school? So just being a little bit more accountable with those metrics. But certainly that is something that, that we're working on, and trying to make sure that that data is held and that it's objective, right? So we're not just saying, hey, we did a great job because we reduced the need for bus drivers, or we got our kids to school on time, because that's not really our focus. Our focus is about the students achieving, right? And if we're creating something where they're not, then it has to be addressed.
And one last question, I'm gonna ask, in your capital plan, is there a strategic plan, a goal, date, or year to reduce the number of portables?
So I do know that there has been a goal since you were on the board to reduce that number of portables.
It's moved a little, I was just saying that.
But it was an important, I know it was an important goal, and I know that in a large number of schools since I came in July, I am seeing those numbers decrease from attempts to get those portables out. I've seen those portables move though, so they've gone from school to school to school. We have a large temp site right now at Franklin Park, which will move to Cypress Lake Middle. Those formerly came from what was the Gateway area, which was on Lehigh Acres campus. So these portables are migratory and moving.
The thing is, that's the point of it.
Yeah, to be 10, well, they're called portables.
The point was they were supposed.
Yes.
They were supposed to not stay at one school for 20 years. That's the point.
Yeah, and I think one case study that I would like to bring up is Okamic. So Okamic, we know, is a very large middle school. In fact, it's our largest middle school that we have, and it has a number of portables. But with proximity, we'll be able to better use the buildings around and adjust the student population. So I think we will start to see some. That's one of the benefits is just building utilization and not having that need. So we can certainly take a look at the trend data and where those portables and that decrease, but I appreciate. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to go ahead. You guys go ahead first.
No.
Please do.
Hey, for the benefit of us, my apologies, your name, sir, and
Adam Malloy,
your position?
Director of Planning.
Okay, I hope everybody listens to you, because you're amazing. I hope everybody at the school board and everybody in the entire school system is paying acute attention.
Should I give him a raise?
A raise, and y'all listen to him. Everybody should listen. So the other thing I have for you is, have you ever noticed, has anybody ever noticed here, when the kids are out of school, the traffic is not as bad. When the kids are in school, the traffic is ridiculously burdensome. So, so look at the cost of all of that. Can we look at that? Can we look at the potential of loss of life, burden to our hospital systems? How does that drag on children to be dragged around and things like that? I mean, that's also a factor.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that one thing that's come up a lot this year is traffic studies, right? And trying to do a better job of understanding how our dismissal, pickup, drop off, has impacted traffic in certain areas, and working with our municipalities. And in my world, we work with the county a lot in terms of what sort of improvements can we do together to try to make it a little bit safer, and what sort of policies, procedures can they do on the school side to make it a little bit safer. But that has come up a lot, is can we do a traffic study here? We need to do a traffic study there. And I think what we're seeing, as I drive on Colonial on 75, that's where my wife works, it's like Mario Kart. it's what we're seeing is that it is a community infrastructure issue, right? And it's not just, so I'm kind of weird. I view the traffic in front of a school in a community as a good thing because I know that there's a school there, right? And I view that as a community positive. Not everybody views it that way, right? And not everybody has that same connection, but I definitely, you know, I'm seeing a lot more of those requests in our area to do traffic studies to make sure that these roads and sidewalks and walking areas are safe for our kids. So yeah, it's definitely something we can continue to look into. Oh, sorry.
We have a comment or
All right,
question, if that's okay.
I have to run, so I want to get this out real quick. So quick comments, and then followed by a question. First one is, for the students that are walking particularly early in the morning while it's still dark out, can the school institute a program where the children wear like strobe lights or something? I mean, really, I think it's the easiest, simplest idea. They put it on their back, that way you just see them walking down the road. I think it'd be great, and you can actually see them going around.
Yeah, so wear them.
Well,
No, they wear a tag on their back.
Something-
Parents put
something
it on the
reflective.
backpack.
oh, I mean, just encourage. I'm not saying the school district take the funding and absorb it that way, but if they could recommend that, I think that could go a long way to actually increase visibility, because there's a lot of low visibility in here. All right, and for safety and loss of life, I think that could be tremendous. It's something I asked people in my neighborhood to go when I was part of our HOA. Not many people listen, but I think it's still a solid idea. But the second thing is, when we talk about infrastructure and parent pickup, the line is, going to her point, ridiculous. You only got 2 lanes, and even using the shoulder, it really impacts traffic going through. So my question on that is, when I was growing up, things are different. It was a long time ago. But we were able to walk out to the cars and go. But I really feel that from parents I've heard, because my children aren't in school, the children aren't allowed to go there. They have to wait for the parent to pick up, which is just sends line and everything. So my question would be, what can be done to allow easier release of children, so you don't have necessarily running in the street, but then able to walk to the cars to get more out of line and to increase that flow?
Is with the for your first topic, with the safety of the walkers, was there a particular school or schools that we could work with to maybe talk about?
No, I think it's just something in general, because I leave early in the morning. I cross all over Southwest Florida.
Do you have metrics regarding like how many students walk to schools, and
Correct,
do you have metrics of
Yeah,
that?
we have those percentages per school. I just didn't know if there was one in particular that was being relatively unsafe where we could communicate with the admin.
It's just more of a generality, because
But in the morning, I don't know if you live here or anything like that, but literally it's dark
right.
every time, and we don't have a lot of streetlights. We have gotten more. And then the other thing is we don't have sidewalks.
Right. So they could just be going down the street and then they're on their phone, and you don't
Yeah.
see them until you're right there. Particularly if it's a foggy morning. I've looked up like, oh my God, I did not see that child
Yes,
right
I've
there.
been there, done that.
Yeah.
That's so scary.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things. But if just the school could recommend, hey, everybody, put a reflector, put a light, put a
There's like
strobe light on your back.
One school you
It
can
doesn't cost anything extra.
start a program and try it out.
Yeah, just as a recommendation.
High vis
definitely.
vests.
On memory spreads, I think the sheriff had a program like
Sheriff,
that.
partner with the sheriff.
They were doing something, donating them, but it'd be great for Rotary.
I was thinking like high vis vests. They give out when you're doing like the road cleanups. They give you the high vis vests to wear.
Well, those don't look even stylish
Those
enough.
reflector vests, the
And
yellow,
to
red,
your second question about stacking, parent stacking. So that is something that we can look at each school site. Some of the schools were built during different time periods and decades, and they need to be re-explored as to how we administer those pickups and drop-offs. I know a lot of schools this year have gone to 2 to 3 lanes and have changed their pickup from what used to be their parent pickup to their bus ramp because of the reduced number of buses. There's a number of things that they can do, but sometimes they're constrained. Like we do need to add another lane or add pavement to make sure that the buses can turn. So each school does need to be evaluating that in partnership with us, and we really need to be doing a better job to support them in that endeavor. So I do think that is key, and there are schools that do it really well. And some schools even have staggered drop-off times, in the morning, and that has helped a lot. I'm not saying it's always possible because of staffing. North Academy had a lot of traffic issues for for a number of years, and they started this staggered drop-off time. And parents also don't like being told when they had what specific time they had to drop off their kids, but they did allow it. And they did provide, supervision, and that's always an option if there is staffing to accommodate that. But that's certainly something that our schools, in conjunction with us, need to be looking at.
So, thank you all. I appreciate it. I wish I could stay longer, but I gotta pick up my little.
Yeah, sorry. All right, so just to conclude, and I know that we're going back to the boring capital, but all of these projects are designed to create new student seats to accommodate student growth, right? This does put us at a deficit around 4,000. If projections hold true, we would have to accommodate that on our existing sites, maybe adding buildings. In the early 2000s, they added a number of capacity buildings at a number of elementary schools, and we certainly could try to maximize our property on existing sites. Some are pretty tight, but we would have to evaluate that and then perhaps go that route as well. One thing that's great about projections is that they're either supported or refuted, changed, adjusted by real data that comes in, and so we will see that with our updated projections that should be finalized hopefully in March. So I appreciate the time on with proximity and with the capital plan, and you'll be hearing more about the capital plan kind of on a regular, consistent basis with new leadership and kind of new changes. We really wanted to develop something, I think, that was that went to the board regular for vote and then was updated on a regular basis based on projections and capital constraints or funding constraints.
I noticed, of course, with the innovation school and elementary schools that are listed, and the innovation school, it has 260 more students. And the difference in cost, the 97 to 122. Is that just because they have the 200 more students?
There was also some extra costs associated with the collaboration with FGCU and what needed to be done design-wise in the building and on the site. Because with that site, it is tight on tree line, and they were trying to accommodate. They did not want any cars, and I think makes sense. They did not want any cars on tree line. All of the cars for stacking had to be accommodated on the school site.
And is FGCU, because before they were not providing any financial, they were providing the instructors and staffing. Are they still not providing any financial as a partner?
Pretty much, we're still working on that, but the staffing is important. It's a lot of money.
No, I understand that, but it's their classroom and it's not.
It is. You want to explain what the innovation school is, or?
Yeah, so just a general background, and there's experts in the room seated here that know a lot more about it than I do, but it's a collaborative project between the school district and FGCU to become like a model learning lab that uses FGCU staff and interns to really work on best practices as it relates to education, and it infuses FGCU staff. So their collaboration and contribution is by providing staff that is permanently housed there and that works and develops in with the classroom, whereas our contribution is the building of the building and then the staff and admin and students that that work within that. It has been a project that's probably been going on for longer than all of us associated with it would like. We would have liked to have seen it enacted, but it has gone through some different iterations, and we're very hopeful. I believe tomorrow there's an action item to move forward with phase 1 pre-construction, budgetary dollars to really get that ball rolling, which will be a really, I think, innovative, one of a kind, unique K-8 experience off tree line.
There'll also be opportunities for grants to do something new like that.
Can you go back to the beginning of the capital list and just kind of go through the east zone primarily, the schools and where they potentially are located if they have designated locations already? Absolutely. And each of the new school sites does have a identified property except for elementary N, and I'll talk about that once we get there. So middle school 00 is on that State Road 82 site, which was across Caddy Corner, as you mentioned, from the 7-Eleven near Alabama.
Sunshine and Alabama.
Okay.
Actually, Sunshine is the main main drag.
Okay.
We shouldn't even mention Alabama at this stage.
Yes, sir. Elementary L is on that same site. Will be a 3-school campus. So elementary L is on that same State Road 82 site. Elementary M is on a property that we purchased on Savannah Lakes, which is a little bit further on 82, not far from the 82 site, which we just mentioned. That will eventually become a 2-school site. That 82 growth corridor, as you guys know, is extremely important for us to try to address, and it's also where there are larger tracts of land in and around, or what we would call, I guess, containing the growth area, which I know sounds weird when we're talking about population, but trying to put it in proximal location to the population. High school NNN is slated for Joel Tuckahoe in Alva.
Oh,
Strategically,
That's
always right.
is that the high school or no?
Correct, yeah, high school NNN.
And that's in Alba.
Correct, Joel Tuckahoe.
Can I comment?
Joel and Tuckahoe, right?
Just I work in.
It's in phase.
That's why we're here.
You want to explain what phase it's in and what the
But I-
process for behind that all is and where it's at? And
Where's
Yeah.
the proximity?
Can I comment?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we got quite a reaction when the high school was mentioned that it was gonna be in Alba. Okay. And that is our biggest issue. You have a high school, I guess, you say 2,000, but it's supposed to be 28 eventually. 100. Right there, it says 2,000, I know it's going up to 2,800. So, based on everything you have said, contradicts that location, okay? Infrastructure, safety, environmental, busing, community. Okay, now you still have, Lehigh Acres is the one that experienced the biggest amount of growth here. Okay, Alva's not. Nothing going on in Alva. All of Alva is, especially on that site right there, is all preserved. Pretty much every part of that area is preserved. And otherwise that, the properties around it are 10, 20 acre tracts, 5, 10, 20 acre tracts. There's no kids. Okay. And so here we, you know, when we're going back to infrastructure, there's absolutely none. 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 I don't say that lightly. There's none. Environmental, he was just, Dr. Malloy was just talking about delays related to wildlife wetlands, which is on that property. It's right in the middle of a wildlife corridor. Right, so besides that, there's another issue. Lee County citizens have voted and approved to continue to buy 2020 land. At one point, they weren't gonna approve it because the county was spending the money. They were taking it instead of using it for what they're supposed to do. Anyway, so that wildlife corridor over the years has cost us taxpayers tens of millions of dollars. Okay? Now you put that school right in the middle of it. There's panther on it. We've had panther sightings in September, just had one a couple weeks ago. They're on my street. I live on Tuckahoe Road on the west side. Cara birds, I have personally seen them and taken their pictures as early as December. Anyway, there's protected wildlife on that property as well. So you put a high school, and then they're also suggesting to put another 1,500 elementary school on that property too. So if you're familiar with Joel and Tuckahoe Road, as close as it is to 80, and you ever drive out that way, you know what the traffic is like out there. So now you're putting these 2 schools there, and also we have gun ranges, okay, right next to the school. And right now we have a big issue with guns. You know, if you hear a gunshot, school shuts down. So how's that gonna happen? You can't stop us from shooting on our properties. That's our property rights. So then the other issue is, all right, you have this, you know, nighttime big lights. We don't have lights out there. There's no lights, nothing. I mean, We don't want lights out there. And then you have constant lights right in a wildlife corridor. So right there, you're affecting all the wildlife because they transverse that property. Okay, other issue, community. Lehigh Acres has 46 and a half acres. 46 and a half acres?
It's 46.
46 and a half acres, right down the road, right in the middle of kind of East Lehigh and South Lehigh.
Sunrise.
It's on Joel Boulevard. It's the old golf course.
Which is
Okay,
light,
what?
which is very ugly.
Yeah, and it's being overrun by trash and all kinds of things going on there. And actually, I called Armor, and I noticed you got a fence put around it. Thank you. So anyway, there's two. We haven't gotten to that point yet, and I don't know if you will, so I'm sorry, Adam. You have the two dead zones, basically, north and south. That property is smack dab right in the middle of those two dead zones. Bring those students all together. You have 3 middle schools right there. You have Lemuel, VPKA, or VPAA, and Lehigh Middle. Now for your proximity zone, that's perfect. Those kids can all go to that high school right there. They can walk, ride bikes, everything. Reduces busing substantially. Now, if you put that, and I've talked to a lot of Lehigh people. I've got like 250 signatures of Lehigh people that actually live in this area. They all want it there. They say it needs to be here. This is where our kids are. We want it here. It makes no sense to put it way out in Alba. And I will bring, of course, that petition to you at the school board someday. So anyway, and then with the proximity zones, can we go back to a proximity zone picture, please? I don't mind if I stand up.
Fine.
DD, Alba. Only school in that proximity zone. Reason being, and I'm quoting you, it is a significant, what's the word, geographical distance.
That's much better than I said.
Thank you. Here, to send the kids here, okay? That's why we just have the Alba school. Here is HH. Lemuel Teal, Lehigh Acres, Veterans Park. Right here is, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be scratching that. Right here is the school property, the 46 and a half acres. Right?
That's the good one?
That's the one that they're not.
That's the one they're not proposing. This is the one that we are proposing. They put it there. Right in the middle where all the kids are. These kids already have their transportation to those 3 middle schools. Okay? To fill this school up of 2,800 students,
Way the heck up there to these.
way the heck up here, thank you,
Yeah.
is 36. Now this is just 77 kids per bus, okay? 2,800 kids. That's 36 additional buses to fill that school. Now, we all know that they don't pack 77 kids onto one bus. They're coming from all different directions. So you're probably getting, I know you're only gonna get like 3 buses out here to go there. And if you got all the kids here, a lot of them ride, walk, already have their transportation. Then you got all the buses here.
All right.
So you're looking at like 50 buses going up to Joel Boulevard
Okay,
On a
now,
2-lane road.
on a 2-lane.
here's
road.
one thing. Yes, there's one middle school there. But another middle school could be at the Tuckahoe and Joel,
And that's what we're
which would-
talking about.
which would,
That's
that's
the point.
right up here, which would be in that one area. That would do both Lehigh and Alva students.
Alva doesn't have
Don't
kids.
And
Alva
we're not
doesn't have
getting
kids.
any-
That's already
we're
been
not
proven
getting
that Alva doesn't have the
soon.
population kid-wise.
Look, here it comes
Now,
down.
wait a minute,
Alva is
hold it,
not
hold it, I
Lehigh.
have the floor.
Okay, well, I'll
Hey,
do something high.
The high school, the kids from Alva go where to high school? How much longer can they go to Riverdale till it's full?
You don't
No,
know.
we don't go high school there. They're maxed right now.
So you transfer
Okay.
kids from Riverdale into this high school down here.
Have you done any studies on how many kids that will be populated into that school that you're proposing from Alva as opposed to from Lehigh?
Well, it's not just, you gotta
That's
remember,
my question.
this whole area
Right.
from I-75 to Alva, there's no high school. They all go to Riverdale.
It's packed.
Okay, and it's packed. I
I
mean, it is
understand.
absolutely at the max.
I understand,
Okay, we
I
need a
understand.
high school
Mhm.
to help do that.
but I would
Now,
ask-
now, wait a minute, now you're saying the kids from Alva, because these kids, I-75 to like 31, to move, you're saying, okay, let's take them and move them all the way to this new place. This area right here, right in the middle, is, we're working with the state legislature for planning money for a career in tech.
Yes.
Which is so needed in Lehigh. This is for the kids 18 and above. We have one in Cape Coral. We have one in Fort Myers. And Lehigh, right in the middle, would be a great opportunity for kids right out of high school and also older adults.
That's what you're proposing for that site?
I thought you were
That,
building
that's one of the sites that we have said could go. Okay, that would be just the most perfect place. Your Senator Pasadoma is very much behind that. It could be even a regional one for Henry County and Lee County. So there's other places too. I mean, all these sites, but to move the high school to the middle here might work temporarily, but you're putting another high school over here. It's still gonna, all these people here are gonna have to go somewhere. They can't keep.
When you're figuring your attendance numbers, all the development that's in the planned future development that's potentially coming, that's also being thought, I'll say,
Mhm.
are those numbers included in like to go to the NNN?
Correct, yeah.
But it's all old folks.
They're not, it's,
On 80.
But I have a question, so who have you projected to go right now, because the school is proposed? Where are those students coming from right now the most?
So I'm
That's
gonna.
an easy question,
No, I
right?
want to touch, I just want
Okay.
to touch on a few things because you did ask a question that I believe I have an answer. So
Okay.
if you pull up the addresses of those that attend Alva KA, the majority of the students have Lehigh Acres addresses. So if you were to remove Lehigh Acres out of Alva, you would not have enough students to justify the Alva School KA, right? So you would assume that that would continue in terms of projection and would be even more so at the high school level with, all right, I'm standing. It's hard. No, so, I mean, so I guess if you think about it like a gator trying to contain the Lehigh Acres population, Joel Tuckahoe at the far north, and then our 82 site at the far, I guess you would call it like southwest of Lehigh. Those are our two tracts of land that we have planned for these sites. Now, Denise brought up the Joel Boulevard site, which is 46 acres, could work. There's a Tice site that we have next to Oak Hammock, which is 113 acres. The Tice site gets into that Buckingham Rural Preserve, which I know we've talked about.
It's actually in Tice.
Yeah.
Right next to 75.
Correct. Yeah. So, yeah, if you think about it, trying to, I don't want to say contain, but in order to best address the exponential student generation in Lehigh Acres, both north and south, that's where we have those schools planned, and that's who I would imagine the majority of the student population would come from.
That's the answer.
For NNN would be, I guess, I don't know if it's called Northern. I know that Northern Lehigh Acres may not be a thing,
We're not Lehigh.
but where does your,
It's northeast Lehigh Acres, basically. So basically, and the 2.5 mile radius, okay, I think I sent that to you, is, there's nothing there. It's all preserve. It goes down to the Frank Mann Preserve. The 2.5 mile radius goes down to Frank Mann's Preserve halfway. In this area here, you have a fire department here that cannot handle it. It's tiny. You have two fire departments here. You have fire station 102 and 101 right in that 2 mile radius. Here you're talking about, you just said, high school is gonna be here. Now, most of the kids from North Fort Myers, you really need a new high school in North Fort Myers. Yeah, I mean, because they gotta go all the way to Cape Coral or something.
Yeah, well,
But
so,
then-
yeah, the thing with North Fort Myers is that Island Coast does have space. What we're talking about for West High School 000 is Kismet Chiquita, which is near that burn store, what they're calling like the burn store growth corridor. Now, that one could be delayed a little bit as infrastructure tries to keep pace in terms of utilities, which I'm sure we'll be seeing in a lot of other places. But yeah, that is, those schools like Mariner, Cape, and then North. I know Island Coast, Island Coast is pretty close to that. I guess I don't know. I grew up in North Fort Myers, but I know all of North Fort Myers.
Well, you were talking about in our, now this
Probably
is,
don't know
this is-
clear map.
this has been an issue with, with Riverdale. Okay. You're saying, oh, we pull all the Lehigh kids out of the school, we don't have enough kids to keep out of the school looking. Well, you still got North Fort Myers kids coming into out of school. And so, and Fort Myers Shores. And then Riverdale. You build a school here, which most of Riverdale, most kids up here are from Lehigh. So they are. There's no kids in here. You look, compare the population of Buckingham, Olga, Alva, it's 15,000 people. Lehigh Acres, it's 127,000. So if
Your heat map.
if you build a school here in the center, okay, Riverdale it's open seats in Riverdale. The kids are all from Lehigh to go all the way to Riverdale can now go to that school. To build out here and all these kids come that way, that's 15 miles. I'm 20. You really want, I thought you were trying to cut busing. I thought you wanted community schools. This is the narrative I'm hearing.
Can I make
We
a
want
comment?
neighborhood schools and reduce busing.
Let me make a comment. I'm very, very familiar with that Tuckahoe area. Across from that area, the county has purchased land for Parks and Rec also.
It's all preserved.
It may be preserved. How long can we have preserves when we have mankind, humankind? I want to go to.
They're dedicated blood.
We just talked about Bucket, Riverdale High. Look at the population that's going in on that Gunnery Road area. It's not 1,500. And they're not gonna go in that center area there, that blue spot that we talking about for development purposes. I am more for us to have a technical school there whereby we can have people from this area and talk about proximity. That's what we need. We don't, and then we won't have to address the issue of affluent people. That's where people are going, or people who are poorer or cannot afford it. We got to be able to focus on the people who can get the kind of education and their training to support not only this community, all of Southwest Florida, and the kind of population that we currently have in Lehigh and or in the surrounding area. Think of where they're coming from. They came from other countries, and I don't want to say other countries because these are smart people. It's just that we cannot afford to have them take a test that's designed by the state. FCAT came on board. You know what I did legislatively? Went and asked, make reading a subject area because kids could not understand and could not pass the test. So I am just letting you know, and I've been in the school system also. I now retired. But I will tell you, we need to focus on the folks that we're serving. And these people, when they come here, they're not going to go up north to live. In fact, they're running from the north to come here. So we need that technical school right dead center there, or we can put it across Sunshine area, in those areas where it's developing. I like the plan that I'm seeing, and I will tell you, I love cats, dogs, birds, and everything else. But where will mankind go? Tell me.
Can you
I'm
finish
done.
on through the list?
Middle school being built on 82.
There is one that's coming.
I thought Big Bang.
I'm gonna say something.
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to see us move on to the other folks in the school
Yes.
department here. I'd like to see them move on. The only thing I'm getting right now, they come up with good plans, which I like for you guys to come, big girls, sorry.
Yep.
It's coming out with, but I'm just seeing a lot of stuff what Alan don't want. That's why I see a lot. They're coming up with a plan. I'm a firefighter. I'm a fire commissioner. I can go round and round with everything to do with the fire. I can't tell the stuff over the school. That's why I want to listen to what you folks have to say, so you can enlighten me, and that's why I like it when 3 years, 2 years, whoever, up there, whoever it was, I know Derek puts it out, but Mohammed's behind it. You came in place, we can know what's going on, instead of hearing all the stuff with all these social websites and everything which happen, don't mean nothing. They don't tell you, and this is why I say we move on, so if you folks continue.
Thanks.
That's all
Can
I
you
got.
finish off with the list, going through those last couple of, the last slide maybe?
Yes, sir.
I think we stopped at NNN.
So Innovation School Cade is a site off Tree Line. I mentioned it is a little bit tight. East Elementary end, we could use a district-owned parcel either in Tice, which I mentioned, the Joel, which I know we're discussing other things, but we are trying to work with some developers who are that are working perhaps off Corkscrew. For that elementary end. So that's the only one that we don't have specifically identified with a property. Just because the growth off Corkscrew and the student generation has been a little bit surprising for us. I would have never thought you would have seen many K-12 students generated where a home price minimum was $950,000, and yet they are generating a decent number of kids, more so than we anticipated. And it's putting a lot of stress on schools. From a capacity standpoint. So, and you could see on one of our sites, or depending on where things go with developers. So developers do have to inquire with the school district about concurrency. Do we have enough seats to support their development, right? In our previous system, we always just said yes, because there were seats somewhere in the east or the south or the west. Now we have to be very specific. We have to say, no, there actually aren't enough seats in elementary zone Q. Right? And you're going to have to inform your potential buyers that they may not have access, or you're going to have to work with us. And that's where working with them has some potential. Say, perhaps if there's land that we can purchase, and we do have that budget in the capital plan. So N is slated for there. And then I think middle school RR and East High School QQQ, they round out our 3 school sites at the Savannah. Not Savannah, the 82 parcel, the Joel Tuckahoe, and then if not the 82 parcel, then it's on the Savannah Lakes property, which we mentioned for elementary.
That's a quick question.
Yeah.
With middle school right now is our highest, most overcrowded group. And you don't have a middle school till 2029. They will siphon off some with that K through 8 innovation school a little.
Yeah.
Is proximity supposed to equal that up? Because right now, I mean, a few years ago, we needed like 2.5 middle schools then.
Yeah. With Lehigh Acres Middle, the new Lehigh Acres Middle kind of expanding to that 16, that has helped, with that additional building. Again, we're talking about a few hundred seats, but every few hundred seats, helps in this situation. Innovation adds 600, 700. Middle school RR, adds the 1,500. But yeah, middle school is going to continue to be tight. Proximity should help with building utilization, but it will really just help those. It may not be help. It will really just increase those buildings that are not fully at capacity to have them fully be at capacity, so that they can ease the burden of the other schools. So an example like Lemuel Teal, increasing their building utilization from 70% right now to 95%, which most of our schools are at for next year. And so that should assist. But being tight with that, where some kids may not have gotten Lemuel Teal in that distribution of student process, now they have those 3 choices, and they will better use those buildings. But yeah, I see middle and I see west, then east feeling the pain first in our current approach. We can't build schools fast enough to try to address this growth. And students come in, we have to give them a seat somewhere. And you know, I think that should always be our approach. We can't say, hey, sorry, we don't have any seats in your zone. You know,
And the main thing I just want to say is that basically you're saying that elementary is so overcrowded that we need 2 of those a year earlier, actually 3, a year earlier than we need those.
but we also have middle school 00, which is coming on first, and that's off the 82 site. So that'll help. Middle school 00 with 1,200 in 2026. That will help. Because
So we
that'll
have a K through 8 and a middle school.
Yeah. No, sorry. The K through 8 is the innovation off tree line. Middle school 00 is just that will be joined by elementary L and then also a high school.
You have a question back here.
Yeah, sprawl. So sprawl. So something that, you know, some of us are talking about a lot is just the amount of sprawl that's happening. And one thing that your district could do, and maybe you could think about, is, you know, saying no to putting, you know, to planning, you know, a school where all of a sudden then that will make it so somebody can make sprawl happen versus looking at where the actual centers of current population are. And then, because literally, I've lived in Lehigh Acres for 15 years before, and there are no kids who are going to trade school working in Lehigh. They work elsewhere. Okay, so they could pop into the trade school on I-75 on their way to where they're working. But you could also purpose any of I'm sure we could find a place to purpose you know, a school, not unlike the college that's at Colonial and I want to say by the church.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the South End, the one that my sister went to 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's you know, just like the buildings that have, you know, that are just like 4 or 5 floors. I don't know. Do we have to put it there? Honestly, do we?
I mean, to echo that, it feels like you're putting a round in a square peg, you know? I mean, you have to admit the infrastructure is not there. You have to admit that there is going to be, without a doubt, a life safety issue putting that school there. Because everybody in this room knows that the infrastructure will not catch up in time for you to build this school. Everybody in this room knows that because we are cart before the horse county. That's echoed all over the place. So it doesn't seem to make sense to just because we have the land to utilize it when that's not who's going to pop.
Have you had conversations with Lee County DOT if school NNN gets approved and gets built on Joe and Tuckahoe? Have you had the conversation with them? What's the status of that road getting 4-laned? What have you heard?
Yes, we had a meeting about 2 weeks ago in which we discussed collaboration as to the improvements of the road to make it safe and secure, including you know, capital commitments from both sides to try to ensure that the traffic infrastructure and road infrastructure could be accomplished. We didn't get specifics and we didn't have an exact agreement, that will be required. They had some other ideas about how they would elevate the project because I think, Denise, it was pretty low on the list originally, but they had looked to elevate it in our conversation and certainly, you know,
They bumped it 1 spot for tomorrow's workshop. It's bumped up 1 to 21, I think.
It went from 20 to 19, it's still in tier 2, I talked to
And
FDOT
you know what
about
that
this.
means.
It's
You know
still
what that
10 years out.
Yeah, you know what that means.
Because they have to get eminent domain. They don't have the land to widen that road out.
I'll give you an example. My father-in-law got eminent domain on Bay Shore in 1993. They took his property in 1993 to widen Bay Shore in 75.
yeah, no,
It
it's
has not been widened.
it's we will have continual meetings to see what each side you know, will commit to. That's part of that phase 1 process. You know, that's really the update right now is we don't have specifics, but certainly we're both willing.
When do you estimate completion of phase 1?
So we're still waiting on a few completions of the surveys and the final site plan. And then we will begin that application for permitting, which we're not there yet. And I've already mentioned some of the delays that we anticipate to
Would it go back to the board for approval prior to permitting or after?
it will be after.
And on a
Although the
personal
board-
note, if I'm a parent, I don't want my kid driving 30 minutes, you know?
Correct.
So,
The other thing that we all seem to be talking about, the widening of Joel Boulevard. That doesn't make it safer, that actually makes it less safe. The reason that road is 2 lanes is because of the wildlife corridor. And because it's rural. So it makes people slow down to go there. Now, the accidents, as soon as that road gets wider, they get past that area, zoom, they're all done. We've had, in the past month, I don't know how many accidents we've had on 10th Street and 14th Street, and that's 4 lane. Okay, so the issue is the widening of the road increases traffic. Makes it so we can't even get out on the street. I know you can put traffic lights on every corner. And then all the traffic that veers down to avoid that traffic light on 80 comes down Peckham-House and Styles. So.
It's gonna be another meeting too, right?
We have a question
Yeah,
on this
right
end.
back.
I wasn't seeing their hand because I was too close. I apologize. I'm sorry.
I just want to come off of where to put the high school, and schools, because, I was just, it concerned me to hear about the proximity, because, it was always a chance for kids to get out of a bad school, go to another school that you have a little better chance at. So what are you doing to make sure that, proximity isn't gonna keep somebody in a C school, when they could go to an A school? You have that technology school on Tree Line. We lived on Tree Line. And the kids there, yeah, they're smart kids, but, you know, where are the Lehigh kids gonna get that opportunity? So my question just is, because we're dealing with proximity, and this has been, I'm from New York originally, and the biggest problem there is, you know, you have proximity schools, but then you can't get out of that C school or that F school. In New York, we got F. So you wanna make sure that the kids in Lehigh, they get a good chance, you know? Does it mean you have more, ESL, more, whatever the schools need to make that into a C school, even a B school? You know, you can,
More
but
pick-
I just look,
aim high, exactly.
I just look.
Start
the
bringing it
local
to all
schools see.
Yeah, we don't have any D schools in,
Yeah.
right in the whole state. We have
Not
one.
anymore.
That's great.
That's great, and that's why I just wanna make sure that when we think about proximity, that we also look at the school grade, because that's really important to be able to give these kids a chance, because if you don't give them an expectation to succeed, they won't.
And I say to them, though, one of the things that hurt like school grades and how people looked at schools is when they took the, what's not achievement level, what's the, the games.
Yeah.
When they took games out of it, you can have a school, you can have 50 kids that are on a level 1 reading, and they go up to like 1.9. They don't go to 2, and it's not recognized. They're still a 1. And so everybody doesn't see how
There you go.
hard
Right.
that is an excellent school, because they work with the kids that they have to and help them improve. But unless Tallahassee says we are using games and not just letter grades, that makes it hard for us.
What I might have to, I'm gonna let you guys continue. And any questions that we might have, for time purposes, any questions that we might have, it would be nice if we can put it on a piece of thing, because these folks are always available. Not that the discussion will be so robust.
Thank you.
I'm just saying, so.
I got 3 quick ones. There's a property on Greenbrier. Is there anything proposed for that Greenbrier property?
Not current.
Really?
How much property is that?
I forget the size of it.
It's 13 acres.
13 acres.
I would assume maybe an elementary school potential, but
You're right.
I just have one corruption question. Because those are always fun, and everybody will enjoy that, right? So it's just really quick, is there any chance that, and I like you, I want you to hear me. Is there any chance that they are, that you guys, that the need for a school is like happening so that infrastructure can be justified in general or anything like that? Is there any kind of manipulation that goes around that in kind of policy?
Nothing on that side. It's just about providing what I would consider as a former teacher to be a safe and decent learning environment, which is not overcrowded classrooms. And so it's just about creating. We're trying to play, I guess, a strategic match with student growth numbers, right? If our student population wasn't growing, we wouldn't be building more schools.
To add to that, I'm so sorry. One of the basis points for that question was, if we're reading the paper, what came out today in Alpha specifically, from the commissioner's from the public's point of view for how the commission is operating, was a clear message that may be a concern of residents, that there is a push for this. I don't know if you know what article I'm referencing.
I have been, I do try to keep up on
I'll
the
send
news
it to you.
I have not read it.
I'll send it to you, but there was an article that came out today that sunshine laws were violated with a particular developer who has a particular interest in Alpha specifically, to develop, that he needs water and sewer in order to develop. So that's my question.
Yes.
So we had a meeting with a lobbyist that's well known in this area, who happens to represent 4 out of the 5 commissioners for their campaigns. He had a meeting with each of the commissioners, with this developer, and getting that information, the look of that, it's called a daisy chain, and the look of that by meeting with all of them before a vote. And then when they heard from 50 members of the public, and the commission made no discussion and said, oh, 5-0, he gets it. So all of that to say, that's where that line of questioning comes from. Is there a?
Is that happening? But you don't let it happen.
No, you've been very positive towards me, so.
I love
like
it.
But what I need to remember too is that when a school district decides that we need another school, there's a whole process to go through in Tallahassee as to your checks and balances, and they're the
Checks and
final.
balances and color.
Yeah. And they do that again in the land development as well.
Yeah. Not to say we're nothing.
I think Derek has one.
In the south zone, you're showing 9% increase. Is that including the potential 10,000 home Kingston project?
No, we include that in the east, which is.
That's easy.
Was that for the east?
That's east.
Serious.
Which is on
I know, our large zones are geographically limited, if that, so.
We only have
You
3.
need schools to the
Okay.
current population.
And-
not the-
What? I didn't hear. We only have
To
2.
sum it up, all the developments in the east zone, in Lehigh. Okay, not in
I'm sorry.
Alva, it's all in Lehigh. If it's in Lehigh, serve Lehigh. Okay, that's the basis of all this. If it's in Lehigh, serve Lehigh.
7 out of 10 houses we did.
My last question is there any talks of trying to renew the half penny sales tax?
I'll speak to that. How about that? I can only speak for myself. Okay, if we're still growing, we need money to build schools, but 2 choices. Raise the taxes,
Well, that's.
or keep the half-cent sales tax, which the tourists pay 20%. I personally, for the half-cent sales tax. But if we are not growing, I am personally against the half-cent sales tax. And we really don't know. There are some districts, Brevard, which is a fairly large district, is going to shut down somewhere between 5 and 20 schools because they're losing people. We're still gaining. We gained 1,500 students since the beginning of this year to just a few days ago. That's the school this year. I mean, we're from where we started to where we are right now. So we're still gaining. So again, probably get another 1,500.
Well, there was a state.
You graduate 2,000 each year out of the.
We're not counting, well, that's
I
explains my
count that.
kindergartners.
That's balance.
That's balance.
You lose 2,000, you gain 1,500.
No,
That's balance.
No, we lose 2,000, we get 2,000 new kindergartners. This
Either
1,500,
way,
these 1,500 are brand new students.
Brandy, the problem that I have is that when it was first proposed, the comment was, we understand that you need schools in the East Zone, and that's why we did the asset tax. We're going to be at the end of it and kind of commiserate to the growth. The asset tax is not showing the growth that we need to keep up with where we're.
Yeah, our capital plan has approximately 1.5 billion, is that correct? 1 billion is being spent in East Zone.
Yeah, but
1 billion of the 1.5, that's 2/3.
So if it's ending in 2029,
I know, but I'm just saying.
4 years there,
That's-
when would
that's
you have to
called-
know?
That's called
So, like,
sprawl.
But when's right, they put it off for a long time.
well, and they said to me.
2 years prior, 1 year prior?
It's so. And we've gone through almost the 10 years now. We're still on there. Anyway, sorry.
So, so you guys, go ahead, you have any more thing that you have to?
That you have to do.
Have you had enough?
Anyone else? Questions?
I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for coming.
It's a question and things that, you know, that are out there, but thank you so very much.
Maybe next time, Jen, you can get some harder.
I would ask,
You sit in the middle of it.
She's a communicator. Yeah, there you go.
in addition to this map, is it possible to share the heat maps that are out there that I've seen for elementary?
Yeah,
Middle
I can provide everything.
and high school?
Yeah, that we've produced.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Those heat maps definitely help to show the age and where.
One last question, have you heard anything from FGUA?
You know, we're still working on that.
Okay.
You know, I want to personally thank you
Thanks,
guys on
guys.
behalf of the group here.
Yes.
You know, we really thank you for coming out, and we're hoping to invite you again, because these are issues that are affecting the people around, and we're.
We'll give you a
thankful
year
for
to
your
recuperate.
information.
Thank you for coming. You're good.
Thank you.
So.
We're right there.
We have 3 of us here. Vicky is online, but I don't know if she's listening or part of this or not. So technically, we don't have a quorum. So we can just say that and just end the meeting here. I mean, we really have nothing to do anyways.
I am paying attention.
I would, we join the 3 of us. Yeah, I'm good with that.
I know that there are gonna be discussions around, because the charter has to be, but for all
Get out
intents.
of here.
Well, we're gonna end the meeting. Well, that's formal, so that the sheriff can close their door and court. We're gonna close. All right.
With that, I make a motion that adjourn the meeting.
Oh. All in favor?
Aye.
Done. You miss something.
We're able to connect, it's really